Kyle knows that. I always forget. Go for it.
Another flow update is having control over pickness, requiredness, and flow screens. So none will be added to each pick list option list. The pick list no longer defaults to the first item in the pick list by default. And a required checkbox is also will be available in the pick list component. So you'll have that option as well as being able to choose a default pick list item.
Beautiful.
So now you have the none there.
Awesome.
And then another enhancement is being able to use ISCHANGED, ISNEW, and prior value in record trigger flow formulas. Basically, you'll use the record global variable to use those formulas like you do in process builders and workflows. So you can basically copy your process builder workflow rule formulas containing those functions into record trigger flows. And then just a note, none of the formula functions are available in flows triggered when a record is deleted. So. And then similar to that, you can now use ISCHANGED in condition logic for start and decision elements. So you use the new ISCHANGED operator in your condition logic for start elements and decision elements and record triggered flows. So with this, the ISCHANGED operator, you can define conditions that to check whether certain field values on the record changed in the current transaction. So it goes into a little deeper here. When you edit the start element and configure the trigger, you will select a record is updated or a record is created or updated option for when the flow is triggered. And then you would select the after the record is saved option for when the flow runs. And then when you set up the condition for the object, you use the ISCHANGED operator with fields of the selected object. And if the condition with the ISCHANGED operator is true, then the flow is triggered when to run when the field value is changed. And if it's false, then the flow is triggered to run when the field value is not changed.
Sounds like the process builder. It's aligning the process builder a lot better.
Yeah. So there you'll see that they want to get rid of process builder. So you'll start seeing a lot of that functionality moving to flows.
And workflow rules as well. If you haven't started transitioning workflow rules away, you probably should start working on.
Oh, moving those to flows too?
Yeah. Yeah, you'll want to audit all your workflow rules and your process builders to see how you can start making that change.
Yeah, I know a lot of older orgs have a lot of workflow rules, so you probably want to start looking at that.
Well, I got a new guy. I'll tell him to have those done by next week.
There you go. Done and done. Right, Phil?
Poor Phil.
You know what he's getting into.
Also, one quick thing. If you look at the process builders, you're able to actually see that they've built templates in Flow for them. If you go into and click on where this is used as a field, and if it's a flow definition, if you click on it, it'll actually show you the outline. You can save that process builder as a flow and then just validate the variables and formulas.
Nice.
Oh,
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's like a migration tool almost to help you, encourage you to get those. They don't do that for workflow rules, just process builders. Though.
Yeah, just process builder.
Okay, gotcha.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Kind of along that discussion, you were saying workflow rules potentially moving away. I know when we tried using process builder, and we've got a big org with a lot of customizations, we were seeing process builders get CPU, Apex CPU timeouts, or they were just causing it to function really slow. But we've never really had that issue with workflow rules. Is flows kind of similar as process builder? As like if you try to add too many, you can really quickly run into some org limits, things like that?
Any can chime in at any time, but I think the whole process of the flows is to kind of mitigate that as well. So they've added some functionality in there to be able to kind of audit that type of stuff, those runtime errors within flows, and you can make them pretty chunky. I've seen some really pretty chunky flows that haven't caused any Apex issues or runtime errors.
Can I comment on that, Angela?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
Kyle, when we're talking about workflows and process builders, we're talking about before save updates. Well, actually, no, same record updates. And on the flow side, we have before save available for same record updates. Before save flows actually kick in even before Apex triggers. They are super efficient and super fast. So if you can bring your logic to before save triggers, in most cases you can. There are just a couple of elements and components that are not available. Then that's your best solution. The only thing that's not available, that's available in workflow at this point, is outbound messages. And outbound messages deal with external systems. Most clients don't use that. So, so in any case, they are much more efficient than process builders. All process builders are after save, by the way. So if you move a process to before save flow, you're already super faster, much more efficient. Workflows are efficient and fast. The problem with workflows is because of the order of execution, sometimes they trigger a couple of times, and that causes a problem. So, you know, that's also much better on the flow side. I mean, in summary, my evaluation, this is a great time to convert pretty much everything to flows that you can convert after summer 21.
And you haven't really hit any kind of org limits or seen an increase in limit errors when switching from workflow to flow?
Well, there is not really anything I can think of that is specific to flows that you would experience in terms of like governor limits. Governor limits are the same regardless of the tool that you use, but you know it depends on how you construct the whole logic. But you know there shouldn't be anything that'll make you hit the governance limits just because you converted the thing to flow.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Good info. All right, anything else on that? The other flow update is you can now switch between checkbox group and multi-select Picklist or Picklist without starting over. So if you want to switch the style of your list items from checkbox group to multi-select Picklist, when users can select multiple items, and between Picklist and radio buttons for a single select, you don't have to start all over building out your screen for that.
And I just played with this, Angela. For multi-select, you get the option of checkbox group and multi-select Picklist.
Nice.
It's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Another enhancement is you can find felt flows faster. So now
say that 5 times fast.
Find felt flows faster. That was a lot. Now, if your flows have failed interviews, you can find them all in one place and then create a custom list that includes paused and failed flow interviews. Previously, you clicked a link in a flow error email to start debugging the failed flow interview. But now in setup where you would normally see paused flow interviews, it's changed to paused and failed flow interviews. So in the setup page, it now includes a list view for flow interviews that are paused and have failed. And then you have more list view controls such as sharing, settings, and select fields to display. And so it's just easier for you to see that now. And along those lines of clicking on an email to debug, you now have debug flows with one button. You have you can now click a debug button in order to debug. So it's faster without choosing between debugging on the canvas or viewing only debug details. The flow now determines whether you can debug on the canvas or see only the debug details. So basically, they've given you a one-click solution for that now.
Awesome.
And that was it. If you want to learn more, there's tons and tons and tons to learn about what's coming up in the release. You can always visit the Salesforce.com releases. They have demo videos on the Salesforce YouTube playlist, and then you can take the release highlights trail and dive into the details with the release notes, of course. And then you can also stay up to date by joining the Customer Release Readiness Trailblazers community group. And then, of course, you know, there are a ton of different bloggers out there like Salesforce Ben and June Lee that listed their top 10 or 8 that was basically covered today as well. But there are a ton of bloggers out there you can also get more information about the release for. I didn't know I was going that fast. So anyway, thank you.
So there was one question, and I don't know if we answered it, but Barbara was asking, does anyone know if you can turn off this sharing hierarchy? And I think you're just talking about the button itself, right? Barbara, you want to know if you can hide that button from users,
exactly.
Is that correct?
Exactly. We wouldn't want to turn off the hierarchy per se, but you know how when you enable like the manual sharing, you can, people don't like that. They don't like to know. They're like, oh, why does this person have access to my record? They don't realize it's like based on role hierarchy. If it's, you know, a private object and it's a secret, he's in an executive role. They're like, I don't know this person. Why are they accessing my record? So it's something that is good for us, but in particular, my manager, he doesn't want that for just any user to be able to see that. So I was curious if anybody knew if we could hide that sharing hierarchy. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Or it says you can see this record and they can see this record because, you know, whatever their relationship is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can remove that value from the page layout or assign it based on permission.
Yeah, or you could use the dynamic buttons option, right? And you can only display it for certain profiles or something, I would assume as well. Yeah, I would think you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not the actual button like the manual sharing button. It's the view hierarchy. Maybe I'll have to find it and show you guys. It'd probably be easier than trying to explain it. But
and this is on a record. This is like when you're looking at a record, there's a button or a link that you click on. Is it a link or a button?
Link.
Yeah, I think Angela has a good point there. I think the sharing table consists of pretty much related records.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you take away the
value from
related
it.
list or something, and then you take away the action, you should be able to hide it. I haven't checked, but you know that should be possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what when you were saying it before and you started the strip, I'm like, well, we control all those, what they can even see. So we just don't give them access to the share hierarchy, and then you don't. There you go.
I'm gonna play with it a little bit more, but
didn't seem that simple to you. That's not exactly what you were trying to accomplish, it sounds like. Okay.
Yeah, totally. And we haven't even enabled the manual sharing yet, so you know, we don't have that already viewable. It's just something that, you know, if you're clicking over into Classic, which God, I did that a couple of days ago and it's crazy. Like I don't even recognize it anymore.
Right.
Like Classic used to be so comfortable and now it's like, where am I? But I remember that in Classic. So yeah, we don't have it on and we're not using it. So it's been a while since I saw it. But when I saw this come up, I was like, huh, we're gonna need to get rid of that. So okay. Sounds good. Thank you guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, I'll stop sharing.
All right, so thank you, Angela, for going over those highlights. If we're talking about favorites, mine is inline editing in a report. That to me is going to save so much time. I mean, it's great to inline edit in a list view, but I feel like there's a lot of limitations to what you can and can't. I don't know. I haven't messed with the report piece of it, but I'm hoping that it's going to be a little more, you know, open so that you can update fields a little bit more generously than a list view, because you got to do record type and all this stuff.
Record typing is such a pain in the list view. It's I don't
know if reports in inline editing is going to have that same restriction, but I hope not. So that does sound like it's going to save a lot of time. So anybody else want to share like what you might have learned that you didn't know there, what Angela just shared, or what your favorite thing is that you mentioned?
Well, it pisses me off that I just did a bunch of workflows or process builders and workflows that I'm going to have to, and email alerts, and I'm going to have to convert. But isn't that normal? Isn't that normal in the system, to be honest with you? You know, what we do, we get familiar with one tool and they make us do another one.
This is true. It's ever changing. Yeah, Salesforce is for sure. So you learned a lot of cool stuff there, didn't you, Josh, when you were doing that, right? It's going to become obsolete
first off,
soon.
I learned it. You know, Andy would kill me if he looked at them and got 7 processes all running against leads at the same time, and they're not in one sequential, so they're stepping on each other. But that's okay, Andy. Don't kill me yet. If he came in and audited us, he'd shut me down. Is there any structural? We talked a lot about the actual user side, but Mark, is there any structural things about that they're disabling or enabling that maybe you could alert us to? Like with the system overall, like platform wise or something, anything like that?
Well, I know they started to send out that retirement email. I don't know if that's a monthly basis or quarterly basis, is to let you know things that are going to be retiring soon. They really, from what I could tell, there's not a whole lot that's significant in those emails, I guess. But just as far as that's concerned, you can get the information from there from retired stuff. Everyone keeps talking about when are they going to turn Classic off completely, and this kind of stuff we talked about. When are they going to stop allowing you to create workflow rules in their process builders? But there's nothing, in the very near future that's ever going to, either one of those things would happen anytime soon. Now, I did, in a lot of instances where they branded stuff as Lightning, they're going to stop branding that because everything's Lightning. They're assuming Lightning going forward, so they stop branding.
Confusing, by the way, super confusing.
Right, exactly. I agree. Yeah, people still, I think, they relate. They've 6 years or whatever of relating to Lightning components and verbiage, and now it's just going to be turned off like that, and it's just going to be called something basic. Or like, am I back in Classic? What is this?
They're not going to make the mistake they made with Outlook integration when they came out and said, "Yeah, we're going to end that at the end of 2020," and they got 52,000 emails in 24 hours. So they said, no, the new date is June 2023 or 22 or something like that. They pushed it out like 2.5 years. Somebody there got spanked. They really, I've never seen them change a termination date or an ending date by 2.5 years.
Yeah. One of the other bigger ones that I keep saying they're making a significant change to is email threading for email to case. I don't know if you paid attention to that or what have you, but that's a huge impact, and it's caused all kinds of havoc, and they've had to postpone that a couple of different times now already. So, but they're trying to make it again more secure is the ultimate goal. But in doing so, people just basically lose the ability to relate emails back to their cases. So it really is, instead of it allowing the ability to better work and keep everything together, it's creating additional cases all over the place. So they haven't been able to implement it quite yet. So still working through that.
We're going through on Inbox. Nobody wants to go through what we just did on Inbox. Good God. Debbie, we can only see the top of your head now. What happened to your thing there?
You can see her hat. That's good.
Yeah, I see that hat. She's out fishing. She fell asleep on us there for a while.
That's right. No, she didn't.
Added a link in the chat for Salesforce retirements if you want to take a look at that.
Yeah, I get those and all that. I just didn't know, just in general, with release or anything that you guys caught. I'm actually most of the time more worried about what they're turning off than what they're turning on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if any of you participated in Salesforce Anywhere beta, they shut that down now that they are buying Slack.
Yeah.
And internally, I'm hearing that they are stopping the usage of Quip. They are not using Quip as much.
They already announced that. We had Quip. They wouldn't even renew the contract last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they wouldn't even renew. Matter of fact, they gave us the grandfather us in for 1 year longer than they should because they were shutting it off. They were no longer supporting it.
Oh, I did not know that. That might be the reason I'm getting Google Forms for everything.
This is Salesforce. We're getting Google Forms all over the place. Huh?
Yeah, it's just crazy. I don't get it. It's just.
Anybody else run into the fact that Microsoft thought they would be cute, I guess you could say, and they said they weren't going to continue to support Internet Explorer 11 and before, so they don't update any of the viruses and all that. And Salesforce said, okay, you think you're big, look how big we are. We're just going to not allow any browser with Internet Explorer 11 or earlier to even access Salesforce. Man, that costs, you could see Salesforce, Microsoft stock go down when Salesforce stepped up, and they still are having that pissing contest between the two of them. So we've had to go to Chrome, and then and even Chrome, unfortunately, is running off the Internet Explorer engine, the foundation package. So most of the people are now even moving to Edge.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I know Edge is one that they continue to support, but Chrome is always, I haven't really had any issues with Chrome at all.
No, you won't really have any issues, but it is still running on the IE platform.
Interesting. Okay.
Base code. Now it is better, a lot better. But Internet Explorer 11, we had to move everybody off of that last year, anything before that, and we had some agents that didn't update and stuff like that, couldn't get into Salesforce.
Right. Gotcha.
And then we just had if you ever do inbox, for your Outlook. We just had our exposure has been, we've been working on it for 2.5 months. We've probably had between all the people on them and attached them and back and forth over 1,000 emails. And it's a solid platform, but it runs. Our problem was you better look at all the websites and make sure they're whitelisted. Even the ones they don't list. We finally got past it last week because of our IT digging in to everywhere that failed. And they didn't tell us a list of several websites, and it wasn't whitelisted.
Oh, wow.
So if you ever run into, oh yeah, I mean, we're rolling this out to 80 people, and we've been working on it for 2.5 months. Look at Christina going, holy crap, what? Just money to make you smile.
Awesome. So has anybody else, I know there's like Angela mentioned, there's a lot of bloggers out there that have information about the release highlights. Did anybody see anything in any of the other release highlight information that Angela didn't share that you think would be good for everybody else to kind of know about? Or is this your update here? You're waiting for Angela to give it to you.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
What do you got for us?
We had heard about, I guess, some new sales features, like the new forecasting view. And I think there was some opportunity scoring that kind of came baked in if you were on a certain platform. I think we had sent you a list of this couple items, or maybe Adams was going to forward it to you at some point, but we were pretty excited just to see some of those new sales features.
Yeah, well, definitely want to take a look at that. I think some of them are going to be standard, right? But then some of those require special licenses, that kind of thing. But we could definitely take a look at that and see, which ones you guys can take advantage of, sooner rather than later, as a standard perspective. So, but yeah, that's cool. I saw the scoring. I think that is one that's standard somehow. Did you have a question or comment, Barbara?
I was going to add one after.
Oh, you have a good, okay, go for it.
It's actually a really, really big one. And I think it's going to be rolled out over the course of quite some time. I spent a lot of time researching when I heard about it. It's on record restriction. It's called restriction rules. And basically what it is it, how you have your OWDs and then you have your sharing settings. Then they have this, this record restriction that you can lay over top of it. So what it's going to be really cool is for example, how you have sharing on certain records, and you can actually go in because you can see activities on shared accounts, for example, and people just lose their minds on that. They're like, why can I see these shared activities? I only want to share the account, not the activities. So what you're going to be able to do is layer on these record restrictions on top of your sharing settings and your OWDs. So it's going to be really cool. It's in beta right now, and they have a really kind of a systematic way that they're, of course, rolling it out. It's going to be just for I think email message object isn't coming until the fall, but it's going to be on custom objects now in the summer, and then certain objects moving forward over the next probably 1.5 years. But I think it's going to be something we're going to hear a lot more about, and it's going to be really cool. And I think we're going to love it.
Awesome. Yeah, that does sound pretty cool.
Mega permission set.
Right. Exactly.
It's going to be the
Can we all take a donation up and get Brittany something for the wall, even a poster, something? I mean, she looks like she's in a prison cell there. There's not even a poster, a picture.
Oh no, this room is in progress, and I just.
Oh, is that what it is?
I always keep forgetting to put a background up.
We're happy to see your
That's
smile.
okay. No, we're happy to see you. I just,
Mhm.
pick up a cartoon or something, the today's paper. So we, what is that room? What are you guys working on?
Oh, it's just my office. It's just, we moved here back in July and still haven't fully decorated all of the rooms,
So you're going to be
which
from
is
home from now on?
unfortunate since I've been in this room for a year and I
Oh.
still haven't decorated it. But now I'll
So
be going
this
back
is
to
at home
the,
then? You're working from home?
yeah, at home. And now I'll be going back into the office in June. So that means this room will never actually get decorated.
How many people are never going back to the office? I think they've got me permanent at home now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, we were before too. So I'm not.
Were
sure.
you?
I was
Okay.
working from home prior to, but yeah, it does sound like there's a lot of people in your shoes though, Josh. People that used to go to the office on a daily basis that are not going to either permanently or at least half of the time or something like that. We're gonna have to go back. So
Well, our timing was bad. We bought our building that we're in about 5 years ago, and it's got 5 floors. That's
Sure.
about 1,100 people. We, with the time, we're down to about 1,000 because of efficiencies and stuff when we went into COVID. Pushed
Mhm.
800 of them out, 850 out. And I don't think they're going to bring half of them back. So we're going to have like a whole floor for rent. If some, Mark here needs a new building, for all of his people. Somebody, we're going to have, I'm just saying, we're going to have, I haven't been in the building in a year. Not even allowed in the building, and I'm a director.
Interesting. Not even allowed.
Nope. You can't potentially spread COVID. You got to make an appointment. And eventually I'll have to go in and get my printer and my pictures and stereo and stuff like that. Little refrigerator I have in there. I'm going to have to make an appointment once I'm booted out of there permanently, and I'll be in my new home office.
There you go.
So,
As opposed to your work office you're in now.
yes, I bought big monitors.
I see that Sabani had a question, said he had a question about Picklist fields and metadata. Did you have a specific question you wanted to ask, Sabani?
Yes. Hi, Mark.
Hey.
Yes. So my question is about I was asked by one of my colleague in office. So let's say I have account and contact object, and the account has maybe a pick list called stage, and it has 2 values, A, B, as an example. And I have the same field on the contact, and that has the same AB value as metadata in the backend. Now let's say if they add any new metadata to account object field in future, like C and D has 2 more options. So do you have any tool or any component or any flow where I can just select the object and pick up the field and move the value to the maybe the target object field, instead of going back and adding the new values that I added on the account to the to the contact object field. Did I confuse or?
So this is, I'm sorry. So this is different than global value sets you're talking about?
Yes, this is not global because these are, let's say these are the existing fields, so they don't want to switch to global.
Sure.
So
okay.
How can we manage these kind of situations? In general, we tell to clients that they can copy and paste if they are 10 or 15 values, but their use case is they, let's say if they have the field on maybe 8 objects or 10 objects, some X number. So it's more about the admin or someone has to go and copy the values everywhere. So is there any? I read something about the metadata, but it's more about they were telling me there is 15,000 lines of code on the metadata class. I found it in GitHub. I can create a Lightning component and use that metadata class to do these things, but just looking for any other ways to manage these things.
Yeah, I don't know if there really is, unless somebody else knows like a simple way, as opposed to.
Are you talking about the Picklist value choices that are on the object field that need to be updated, or are you talking about Picklist field values?
I'm talking about the metadata, the Picklist field values, the backend values. I want to copy those values, through UI or somehow. Doesn't matter, if I just add it on the account object level, I want to flow it back to some X number of objects.
And are the users going to be able to update either account or contact, or only one?
they can update anywhere. They can update an account, they can update on contact. Doesn't matter, because stage is a, let's say stage is a, maybe some unique type of field, where the users take actions on different objects based on their own criteria, because stage has its own unique property on account, and the same stage has its own unique property on the contact.
The easiest way I can think of would be to not restrict the picklist choices by field, but by validation rules.
But that doesn't help me, right? Because if I don't restrict, no, I want the users to see the value in the UI level. No, it's not something like, I'm not using any automation in the backend to push the value from account to contact or anything. So my whole focus is on, anything that I add on the account stage field in the metadata. I'm not talking about users. Yeah, my main focus is on the user add any metadata in the backend for the field, and I need some UI to push these the metadata values, let's say from account to the contact, maybe in
Yes,
future to the opportunity.
Yeah.
let me just make sure that you understand what I'm saying. Maybe it's not the right approach, but look, what I'm saying is, if you do not restrict one of your pick lists by the choices entered, so whatever you enter becomes a choice, right?
But that, yeah, but
Then
that is
then you restrict on your validation rules so that the users cannot enter whatever they want.
that is correct. But what if the pick list value is a little bigger? I don't want users to sit and type manually. That is also.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know I don't know how you can sync the metadata.
In a perfect world, so I'm sure there's probably an idea out there, if we went out there and looked for it, is to be able to clone a field and its value, picklist values from one object to the other. But unfortunately, that's not necessarily available. The only thing I could think of, and I'm sharing my screen for just a second, like if you, this industry field, if you had all these values and you wanted to add these, create another field and add all these values to it, if you click on the printable view option here, you can easily grab it. I mean, that's really the quickest way that I know of that I do it. You can just copy and paste it.
Same thing. I suggested the same one, but they
in the contact field, are you just trying to show whatever the field in the account is, whatever that value is? So if it's status, and you just want in the account record to show the account status, is that just, and if you change it in status, you want it to show an account that's changed?
No. The use case is, I want to have the same field in n number of objects, and I want the user to have an option to select whatever the value they want on all these n number of objects. It's not something like, I want to do any automation, or I just want to show up some values.
Yeah, I've heard mention about things like this. They were Apex related. I would ask this question and search for it on Stack Exchange. That's the best place for it.
But wouldn't a global value set that's used by all those fields be back to one set of values? Would that work?
Yes, yeah, that one will work. But the problem is these fields are all created in, let's say, maybe in their use case, this field is called department. It is created in 6 different objects currently, and each pick list has close to maybe I think maybe 70 or 80 values currently. So. I mean,
it's definitely tougher to transition a current field to global value set than it is to create a new one with it on there. But yeah, that would also be an option.
You have to do that on one. But the exact same thing. We were just talking to Phil about today. We've got this lady. They put this entered by, and they got it in 5 different places, leads and over here in cases and all. Well, if you have one global value set, and I promoted one global value set, then I have to go in each one of those other objects and put something that points to that global value set, and then update from the old field to the new field what they, what values were in there, so that then we got to change where it's on the report. So it is a little bit of work.
Yeah,
sure. So one option, right? This is Mohan. So I think you guys would have used custom setting metadata, right? If you can add a custom setting with that possible list of values, and then you can have a formula field which can reference that custom setting. So because the requirement that you told me is like, the values should be uniform across any entity, either account, contact, order, or opportunity. That might be one option.
Yeah, Mohan, can you try to explain that a little more?
Yeah, sure. So let's say if you go and create a custom setting, and then you can list down the values A, B, C, D, whatever you want, right? You can add that. And then on account contact or whatever the different entities you have, right? You can create a formula field, and then you can reference that custom setting. So whatever value is there in that custom setting, it can be shown on that particular formula field. So by that, I know this is a one-time setup you have to do. And after that, anytime you add the custom setting, like extra values like E, F, G, H, right? Then those values also will show up on that field.
Okay, but does the user get access to select the value? I want the user to select the pick list value, like the formula field. It's kind of locking the field for the end user. But in my use case, I want the user to select the value.
Okay,
so
okay.
The formula won't work out here.
Okay, and just to ask you another question, in your project, you guys are not using continuous integration, CI/CD, because when you make this change, right? Because are they directly doing this change in production or something? Because if you are using Bitbucket or repo, right, those change you will make there in for one pick list value, then you'll be able to make the change, right, via pull request.
Yeah, that is we. Like in my company, we are using it, but this is for my friends, so they don't have any Git repository. They're not using any backend functionalities. So
okay, sure. No, yeah, I'll also think through, right? If I have any other option, I'll let you know.
Yeah, sure. Even they're not using the VS Code also for the coding. They're mostly using the developer console. So
okay, got you.
All right. Appreciate everybody kind of helping, give some solution or some options for Savani. So thank you for asking that question. So I did want to give us an opportunity to do some, smaller group networking and breakout rooms for at least 10 minutes, a little bit short on time, but we can hopefully can do that. Everybody can kind of chat a little bit. But before we do that, I was hoping to get a group picture of everybody. Hopefully those that don't have your camera on, if you have it, if you're able to. Sue's upside down. What's going on? That's awesome, Sue. Let's get that picture.
That'd be a great picture right there.
Right. That is awesome. I don't know how you work that out.
Leave it.
That was funny.
Mark fell asleep. He fell off his chair somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Right. All right, so appreciate everybody kind of humoring me here. So I'll go ahead. There she is. There's Sue, and we'll take a picture of Mark's room, I guess, as well. Mark's room will be a part of this picture since he took off on us after he joined. So, so give us a smile, and we'll take a quick pic here. Give me a second. I think I got that in the first shot. That was an awesome pick, you guys. Dude, Andy, your camera is on fire, man. What kind of camera you got? An awesome. Your camera shows up beautiful.
I think
look at that. Look at Andy.
I think I paid $1,000 for this. I'm old, so I have to compensate.
You gotta compensate visually. Yeah, right. I'm always doing this all the time now.
iPhone 11, it's big enough to beat off a pack of wolves with. Jeez.
My wife's trying to get me to go to that. I'm like, no, I want to be able to put it in my pocket. I can't put that thing in my pocket. What are you talking about?
Well, what happened? We're getting our computers down to the point where they can fit on our wrists, and then we've gone back to making our phones where they're like a tablet now.
Right, yeah. All right, I'm going to send everybody to a breakout room. So before I do that, let me share my screen for just a second here.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Before we go to the rooms, maybe you want to discuss this later or before. Did you see it like somebody tagged us? Which one was it? A member of our community asking whether people are ready for in-person events or not.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's talk about that for a second. Yeah.
Take a vote or something. I don't know. Like take what people think about that.
I can tell you that I was thinking about doing our first in-person event in August. I think August is a good time to give everybody an opportunity to prepare for in-person stuff again, right? But what does everybody think about maybe August timeframe being our first in-person since last March? Where still some hesitancy. Thumbs up, down, in the middle.
Just before football, lots of wings.
There you go. Yeah, we can do that for sure. Okay. Thumbs up. Awesome. Okay. So, I mean, if you have any, feedback, certainly let me know. I don't want anyone to feel like, we're required to be in person, but, and the one thing I hesitate as well is there's some folks here that are not from the Jacksonville area. And when we start having in person again, aren't always going to be able to join when you're in Boston, Massachusetts and that kind of thing. You're welcome to fly down and join us, but I don't know if that's going to be very efficient for you for a 2-hour networking event or learning event. So, so that's definitely hesitant because I know we have lots of folks from all over the place now that join, but I'm thinking around August is when we'll do our first one, and I'll kind of provide, more, info as we kind of get closer to that. So, okay.
Maybe we can do both moving forward. We could have.
Yes, I was definitely thinking about mixing in some virtual events for sure to kind of keep everybody, the opportunity to get engaged and everything. So
we have a monitor at the event where they can log in and we all go over once in a while and say hello.
Have them on their Zoom.
Just an observation on that, but that is a good point. When we do our first, we have several down DeLand, St. Augustine. Don't worry about Boston. That we can't do that one. But St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra is this way. Gainesville. Maybe if we do something on the Jacksonville, it needs to be towards like a 95 and Butler, somewhere, a little bit more south to help the others. Yeah, I don't mind going to the Avenues Mall area if it helps so many people coming from the south.
Yeah, we definitely do have a lot that are in the St. Johns County area, as well as further south. I know Mark, he's down there in Palm Coast or whatever, right? So, so we have a lot of folks all over the Northeast Florida area. So it definitely would be good to do that. I know Sue's you're up in Georgia, right? So that would be a little further for you. So it's a mix for sure. So yeah.
As long as I can go to Costco, I'm happy.
Oh, is that right? As long as you can make a stop there. Costco, not IKEA. It's IKEA these days. No, stay away.
Costco and Trader Joe. So
okay, awesome. Okay.
So just an observation. I'll travel myself to help. We got a lot of them more south. So awesome. South and west.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Sounds good. All right. So let's do these breakout rooms. I do want to give us a little bit of time to just kind of chill. We've been kind of doing that a little bit now, but let's do it a little bit more.